It's as poor as we've been for a long time in our footy club, Michelangelo. As good as we were last week. It's as poor as we've been for a long time. So clearly we're not the team that people want us to be yet. But I mean, as disappointing as it was, and it was through the whole group, we need to make sure that we still keep pushing forward and we use this really bad loss to make sure this group continues to grow. And what I do know is that you just in this game you're going to have to learn how to handle failure and adversity if you're going to be any good. And we've got something to handle just at the moment in the short term. So that'll be our next challenge as a group, is to be able to regroup after that sort of performance. That's as bad as we've put on display for a long time in our footy club. So we need to regroup pretty quickly on that.
It's been a hallmark of your time, Neil. You've been resilient until you really get opened up. Why on this day does it fall apart like that?
Well, I mean, you've got to look at the composition of our teams over the journey. In fairness to it. But having said that, I didn't like the way we started. Really early in the game. So, you can talk about, or we can talk about, the profile of our team just as it sits at the moment. Yeah, we've got a lot of inexperience in it. The guys we brought in were Smith, Petrenko, Sloan. I wouldn't say they were experienced players, but having said that, I didn't like what I saw from the start. So you're right, your observation is correct, and we've been able to pride ourselves on that, but we took a backward step today, and that takes a long time to build up that perception that you talk about, and it can be torn down really quickly if you're not careful. So that's our responsibility to address it.
There was a reason why they couldn't respond during the game.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, to Melbourne's credit, they kept their foot on the pedal. And right to the end, I should say. So it's a credit to them. And we were trying to get a response, obviously, and I thought we would have got a response in the third quarter, with just the mood of the group at half-time, Michelangelo, but it was probably nearly our worst quarter, to a certain extent. So anyway, that's what we've got. We created it, and we've now got to live with it.
What was you thinking while Maloney was getting all those clearances?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was all over the ground. I mean, if you guys watched it. I mean, just our capacity to force the issue, to put any pressure on Melbourne's ball carrier, to win any ball around a stoppage, contest the ball in general. I mean, we tried three or four different opponents on Maloney, and in the end, they were just too good for us in all areas of the game. In all areas of the game, we were just hanging on nearly from the first bounce.
As you say, you haven't had to do this for a long time. The last time was that very dark one in Brisbane.
Yeah.
How do you approach it then?
Same way as I approach that one. Is I've got great faith in this playing group, but we'll find out a bit more about ourselves in the next few weeks. So it's going to be a challenge for them, but they'll be up for it. They'll be up for it.
Is it more disappointing that you set a template last week against St Kilda? You found a way to play it hard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the positive of that aspect, Michael, is that we know that we've achieved the heights that we need to. Okay, it's not as if we're talking about a group here that hasn't even experienced the level of intensity and competitive nature that you need in this sport. We saw it against Hawthorn. We saw it against, to a certain extent, the second half against Fremantle. We saw it early against the Port game, and then sort of capitulated to this level against Port. Our game against Carlton was full of merit. Our game last week against St Kilda was full of merit, and then this one's a nosedive, obviously. So, as I said, it's not as if we haven't seen it. And that gives me great encouragement that this group will keep pushing forward, and I've got great confidence in it.
I know I'm seeking a simplistic answer, but what makes the difference between that best level and this worst one?
Oh well, I mean, in the end, it's got to be about our the way we've prepared and the way we've approached the game. Let's forget about what Melbourne's been through at the moment. I mean, because that's the sort of level of intensity that you would expect from every game, and you try and get yourself up to play at that level yourself. You know, and certainly when we get good enough to play in the finals, I mean, that's the sort of level that you will come up against opposition. So, but we're still, with the group we've got, I mean, it's week in, week out. You know, when you talk about a hard-nosed AFL club, you know, a hardened group of players, we are not that yet. And part of that hardness is your capacity week in, week out for 22 weeks of the year to train hard and to play hard. And clearly we're not at that level at the moment. We can do it in you know, some patches of it, and I would say our last 2 weeks have been very good. Carlton and St Kilda. This one was very poor.
It had to do with the issue of expectation, which led to the moment that Melbourne got to in this game. What do you think is the real expectation of that?
At the moment?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think people are sure quite what we've got. I think there's a degree of understanding, Michelangelo, that the squad that we've got, and you know, I mean, I think people understand that you lose Davis, a young player, you put in Luke Thompson, a young player. I think they understand that, but they won't cop that, and neither should they, and we won't either. We won't either. That's nowhere near the standard. I don't care if you're playing with 21 18-year-olds. That's not the standard. We ain't backing away from that. So I think people would think that we're an inconsistent side. Not quite sure what you're going to get. That's a perception that we've created at the moment, and until we change that by our actions, not by what we talk about, but by the way we go about our footy, that will stay.
You spoke about how you're saying what they can do.
Yep.
Against St Kilda and at times during the season. Just wondering, you talk about outsiders, expectations. What's the internal expectations of this team?
Very high. Very high. And that comes from the playing group. So that's the beauty of working with this group. Well, I mean, that's one of the joys of working with this group, because they do have high expectations, and they are, at the moment, bitterly disappointed with that sort of performance. So that's why we just keep pushing on.
What we saw then, physically you'd say, and perhaps even mentally, we would be entitled to think that it's a season or more away before we saw that week in, week out consistency, wouldn't you?
Well, depends how. I'm saying I'm impatient. Yeah. The group's impatient. So we can sit and wait for time to bypass, and I understand exactly what you're saying. You know, another 12 months, 18 months in this group, another 20 games, 25 games, and all that makes sense, and it's good practical thinking. But I saw a performance last week against a hardened AFL club in Adelaide that I like very much with this group. So I'm saying, well, why not again? And again, and again, and again. And that will be the standard.
So you're saying this performance that hasn't sort of shaken your faith in how quickly they can get there, and this is a result of resilience?
Not my faith, no.